What ease we feel as embryonic gods within the womb, who in this mundane dream feel we are monkeys or worms, vermin or worse, slowly rising the tonal scale of self-control, self-respect, and self-command. This man is presumption. It works a sort of magic. That magic holds the masses, how they sway. This other man is deeper, and knows the trick, is able to hypnotize the others, and with the correct words, a well-placed jab. While these lovers here, they hardly ever touch each other, but slowly over time weave spells to control and hold each other, to assume the place of dominance, to rise higher in the tonal scale. We say well that language is love, language is Holy Spirit, language is desire, but as well might we say that language is magic. Language is play, and the game of life, the gods see life as a game, is to gain control over the words, the tones, to build from your own experience the words of control. Thus we make contact over the wills of others. What is sex but ultimate contact? Carnal knowledge. This is how we come to know each other, to cast the deepest spell. Who knows that the eternal inwardness of the soul is eternally virgin, eternally fecund, self-impregnating, and can never be touched, not by man nor woman, not by angel nor demon, not by gods nor God, nor even the entire all or the universal being can touch the innermost fountain of creation. However, most people open the depths only in drastic moments, in trauma or in death. They lack access to their absolute unique name at the center of their being. And so, to come properly within our own, to grow in the expanding spiral of progression, we are larval, mere grubs, fat and torpid, only to grow sleepy, fall into gestation, enter our chrysalis, and metamorphose into a winged deity. Every stage of butterfly is larval to the next, and as we grow old and lose the swing of our life-fluttering limbs, we are ready to press past the last and open again the advent of a new day. The womb of earth, this living stage we call the world, which might be sooner experienced as a sort of rock tumbler rather than the maternal protection, we as well call the Tashametrix, by which we grow the fourfold habits of feeling, thinking, saying, and doing, to become the mystical saint, the meditating philosopher, the eloquent poet, and the brave hero. In this we hold duly to the fourfold proportion of realism, spiritualism, the aesthetic, and the intellectual. Emerson's representative men put Napoleon in the place of realism, the commanding will of action, Jesus in the place of spiritualism, or the man from within, the man of feeling, of passion, Shakespeare as the man of eloquence, the poet, and Plato as the intellectual, the man of reason and logic. Certainly we would do well to study under any of these men, but only, ultimately, the best in them. Shakespeare will never be made by the study of Shakespeare. The man most like Jesus least seems to resemble him. We are most divine when we are most ourselves, least like the others, and if we fall into the playing board of this God or that God, who moves us through the ideas of our minds, we play games through the ideas that possess us, so are we mere baubles of the gods. We have not come into our own. We have not affronted the game and made a few of our own rules of play. We must break the spell that binds, but learn from it a greater spell. We must learn the eyes that command, the voice that speaks volumes in an instant. For this I recommend, have always recommended, mirror meditation, confronting our aspects in the glass and meditating, talking to ourselves, noting our breath and expression, reflecting on our days, before we invite Alma to speak to us through our own mind's voice, as we tip our head back in ecstasy and receive her kind words. For in our situatedness we forget we are free. We are embedded in an immediacy, failing to realize the resourcefulness of the all-view. Having studied at length the great author, the personal hero, we slowly consume him, slowly digest him, slowly make him into our own substance. We become eloquent, we become original, we forget him, hate him, whatever. Poetry dignifies reality, art perfects nature. We come to be completers of nature, and through all we create, continually fashion our own heaven for ourselves. So much fantasy, so much seem makes the day go by. 100 living fantasies we are aware of, 1,000 living fantasies we are not aware of. The one who sees our hidden fantasies controls us by insinuation. Our choices are made by fictions. We break his hold only by finally facing our fears. Attack your fears, my brother recommended to me. Life is so many Goliaths, and they perpetually grow bigger as you perpetually grow braver. What a flimsy image holds us at bay once we've been properly cowed. No iron cage necessary. They are prisoners of their own accord. Free them, and they would stare at you blankly. Perhaps they play at some game. Perhaps it is money. Money distances like all technology. Power is distance. To control at a distance invisibly, one needs to instate a custom inexorable, whose opposite is unthinkable. Take it as equipment. Why pit yourself against the whole world system? Why waste your strength? Art is equipment. By choosing our beauty and immersing ourselves therein, we cultivate the analogous beauty that already existed in our own hearts. Take the time alone, stubbornly insist. Find an excuse, get sick, let it be real. What matters the reason so long as you get closer inwards to your inner hum? Preparation is success. Anticipation is intelligence. You must make that space for yourself, that creative womb where you can be the saint, the philosopher, the poet, or the hero. But not just any of them, some lopsided thing, but holding all four duly in proportion, working one against the other, being brave, as I finally learned to be, and attacking the bully, doing him damage, picking a fight, though I was terrified, and remembering the heart, the love, not at that moment, but eventually. One to the other, until I was four at once, the full being, man and woman proper. What matters is gaining perspective. We use a perspective, a set of perspectives, to establish our own. Our tones, our attitude, is as much a response as an initiation. We exist in a system with exploits. All systems are by nature exploitable. Optimization finds a best in any situation. Nothing bad can happen, but a power is imparted. Who knows in his heart the unspeakable words? Truth is Matriyama. Yes, truth is all, the all. And when we can be nothing, utterly nothing, then we can become something in ourselves, and finally add to the all. No parasitic worm eating the substance of life, but a winged thing, adding magic and beauty and pollination to the dance of our days. For the glory of God is intelligence. Once we see, we know how to touch. Once we touch, we know how to use. And this by perpetual failure. We fail upwards, we fall into grace, we come to play, to life, to laugh, to shine. Every system is exploitable, but abuse revenges itself. When you cheat yourself. When you steal, you sell your soul. When you abide by the laws of the world, you are permitted finally to add a new law, the law of your being. Power comes from patience. Art and music too shall come. Art and music shall be for our moments of study and focus, for our relaxation, for our mindless pleasure, and also our assiduous diligence. Art and music separate emotions, which are too intermingled to be useful. Freed emotion takes time to integrate and to be normalized. I welcome the eternal ones to my triumph. I applaud also for you. Take on my ideas as you will. I have taken on enough of yours as well. Ideas of tone and texture. I add my tone as color and fragrance to all I touch. In this I gift the world. Fall back from impossible spots. Content yourself with the inevitable. Take up your friend and admire them for the works of art they are. They are co-created, between their self, the world, and Maitreya. They are God-spawn, but they are also seeds of the innermost. Poets and painters always walk abreast, and in scattering the star seeds of our souls, the seeds of our being, which fractured into those friends we pick up in history, in this life, in the future, we are drawn as if by magic by those few lovers, and ones doomed to love us and join us again in each next heaven of our bliss. Do to have. Attack your fears. The eyes of the world are on you even when you least suspect it, and nothing in your mind or soul passes unnoticed by the scrutiny of the utter judge of dread and destiny who matters the most, your very self. All these things are with you, and when you master your times as a saint, philosopher, poet, or hero, though in your daily life you might prefer much humbler tones and titles, we are there with you, at your side, imparting a kind word or meaningful glance, cheering you on as Amma cheers you on. Hold duly your fourfold proportion. Gain that height. Youth becomes age, age becomes youth, and we find that the older the body, the younger the soul, till the body finally falls away and an infant spark bursts forth like dawn upon a new world. Part 6. If I am to accept all, and not the knots that bind existence, I must at least accept my own self. My body is the expression of myself. I speak in every breath and every wink. I am my body. I am both eternal and yet this mortal body, and what happens to this body is forever incorporated into my eternal soul. The eternal recurrence of the same, the increasing spiral of existence that goes over the same loops, goes over this. My body must glow. And so I dare mere meditate nude. I frown at myself. The pudge of my gut has grown quite a bit. My shoulders are too stooped. I try to pull them back. I draw closer. I bring my face to an inch of the mirror. The scar on my forehead from my car accident at 8 years old is a great cross on my left brow. Another scar from when I first learned to walk decorates my chin. My left eye blinks a little slower than my right. My pores are large. I smile and ease up a bit. The acne on my arms bothers me. The pudge of my gut also must go. I let my gut out and breathe freely. I smile. It is a genuine smile. There is no twitch to hold it in place. My eyes ease. My neck eases. I meditate like this, sitting Indian style before the mirror for 15 minutes. I plan on a mild exercise routine. I look over myself. I come to see the beauty in me. I smile. My eyes dilate ever so slightly. My lids raise and lower ever so slightly, the minutiae of body language that sensitive people can see, the body language that builds a song to cast a spell. I dance a little. I seek the hypnotic lilt. I feel where the tightness is, the tension that withholds. These are so many knots in my philosophy, embedded in my body. I am good. I will be better. For the man who is Kosmos, having considered the body, finds all its organs and parts good. Finding them good, I notice what is ugly or weak. Self-respect demands improvement. Self-editing is how we read ourselves, how we write ourselves. I vow always to keep clean these four, my mouth, my hands, my genitals, my desk. I wash my hands before urinating, for that organ is sacred. I access my real gifts and magnify them. Our gifts determine our experience. If our body is lithe, we can mirror whoever we see, fall into their language, their song, their world instantly. We use our chosen tool for all problems, and the body is the basic tool. I accept my body as I accept its disease. I accept this bipolar, mindful that it can be psychotic without medication. I mind my moods. I listen dutifully to my psychiatrist and withhold nothing from him. I learn to catch myself lying. A lover of truth, I would always speak the truth, and hate when my tongue is crooked. Self-contradiction is necessary. Contradictory principles balance each other. Yet in all that, I am true. I take all my diseases seriously and read into them, find them to be equally psychosomatic as they are organic. I accept the diseases and their meanings. I suffer through them as a lesson to be learned. Attitudes act. I build my attitude into a character, a body character, by deciding how to convert what I feel into what I do. The heart is a circle. I accept all my emotions. I do not put any knot over them as if they did not exist. One dear to my heart confessed he felt he was a replaceable nothing, and I felt a deep stab in my heart, and the anxiety stayed there for days. After a while, the sore warmed over and became a tension pump. I put my tensions there, hold it, and then release them in the best expression. In this way, all trauma digs a well, which we may use to pump emotions, to hold affect, to withhold affect. We slowly learn our system, our hearts and bodies. We make peace with our bodies, and so I discipline my body. I build on my gestures. I repeat them with affirmations. I drink a sweet drink, and each time I say, I accept this wisdom for my love, as the dancer's joy, as the poet's service at a butterfly's ambrosia, doing a hand dance with the cup. When I meditate, I hold my hand like the cloud swirl on Van Gogh's Starry Night, with fingertips curled around like a nest. I let this stand for the alchemical conversion of emotion into emotion. It gives me peace. I take the gesture during the day when I'm stressed. It eases me. I tilt my head in ecstasy as Amma talks to me. At any moment in the day I may swoon for Amma, and all my anxieties leave my body. Having built these gestures, I may use them. Believing fully my body is eternal, I enjoin it to the eternal progression. Did not Socrates take a flute lesson a few days before he died? Such was his peace with his death, and his certainty the lesson would not be lost. So with me I will teach myself new tricks to the end. I will, like Beethoven, write my most perfect works in my last few years on earth. Normality is having a natural sense of propriety, the customs and gestures of our place and time in our limbs, not with anxiety as if I were resisting, walking through public as if anybody might hit me for not belonging. I meet the eyes of those around me. I smile. I will not be shamed by the stranger, nor even by the insane stranger. I throw kids on my shoulders and tickle them, and kiss them freely. My body will grow more lithe. Once I hold these negative ideas, these knots in my body such that I escape, I have only to dream. We escape in a fantasy when life locks the body in anxiety. Necessity versus freedom. Both necessity and freedom characterize not only the human will, but all matter, down to the grossest particle, every quark. For all the universe pulses with life, is alive, is matria. So I coordinate the truth and the lie, the ruse and the exposure. Self is coordination. Like Socrates, I let myself be stupid, be taken for stupid. Having nothing to prove, I will be proved wrong and thank my opponent. We set our negations on where there is flow. The knot of knots puts pressure on the flow. Such negations have use, have place. I use them and place them. I will not be forever bound by them, but master them as I go. I live simply, believing my possessions are also my body, that a cluttered house is a cluttered mind. Thorough simplicity, his austere catalogue of expenses, is an object lesson in simplicity. I would rule a single prison cell, if only that, but I will master whatever room I am given to hold. turgid, congested, inflamed, unable to work or love, frozen. That center point must be burst. The knot must be burst open. When stress reaches a certain level, the noise is distorted like an overdriven guitar. The distortion on the guitar expresses angst in general. The industrialized world, the womb of technology, puts us on edge. We work at a fevered pace. Yet the body-mind expands and contracts, and should be allowed to. We are up for a while, then down for a while, social for a while, then reserved for a while, accepting those rhythms, being a spiritual man who Jesus said was like the wind, whom nobody knew where it came, when it was leaving, is the natural fluidity of the body and the mind that gives us over to spontaneous intuition, acts from within. Jesus said to be as children. The Tao Te Ching said we must be as babies. An infant with an erection is the image given, potent yet innocent. Anxiety can be converted into excitement. Anxiety freezes, but excitement grows, builds into a conclusion. Art allows us to convert anxiety into excitement. The essence of art is rhythm, and rhythm is the building and climax of excitement. Structurally, the one is converted into the other. We develop our general strengths to balance each other, and develop our specific sensitivities. Those sensitivities are so intense at first that they are horrors to us. Tchaikovsky late at night as a child would scream, "I cannot stop the music from playing in my ears." And so we develop a specific sensitivity, and our greatest powers begin as torments and torturers. Our demons, if we are polite and kind to them, evolve and develop into our strongest and greatest angels to protect us. In everyday life we require many channels of expressions. Artists limit themselves. They choose one thing to obsess about, and like Newton, reinvent the world by attending to but one thought constantly. That one thought is our talent, and we are born with one talent especially, one manner of expression that brings the necessity of our being into the gift of light upon the world. This is called heart cultivation. Imitation gives intimations, but our greatest gift to the world nobody has ever before given, and nobody can teach us to give. We must develop self-command to open the doors and locks and chambers of secrets of the heart's gardens, and the inner garden of the inner garden. The heart is in fact infinitely deep. We can always spiral in deeper towards the center, just as we spiral outwards towards greater power. To bring the consciousness to the very center would also be to bring it infinitely wide, something experienced only for a second, as an orgasm, or more sustained in a trance. Power grows astride our responsibility. The most powerful being is necessarily the most good, for power is by nature good, or self-correcting. Its misuse tells on itself. Evil punishes itself. Evil is an infant good. The universe is the grand dancing cosmos of being, grows past our birth pains, grows past our growing pains, improves forevermore. In all we say we publish our being, and overhear ourselves, and grow in the light of our own voice. One writes on air as if he speaks, writes on a mind more durable than marble, and is like him who begets the sun, that is, originates the begetter of nations. The maker of a sentence, like the other artist, launches into the infinite, and builds a road into chaos and old night, which is followed by those who hear him, with something of wild creative delight, dominate the place you stand. Thus spoke the Oversoul, Emerson, who also said, "Write always to yourself, and you write to an eternal public." The broken heart opens, and if we keep our necessity in touch with our expression, we find that the older the body, the younger the soul. Reverence thyself. Honor your body. Master your face. Remember duty above courtesy. Be willing to rage and yell at times. All decisions should be contextually perfect. Though nothing is retrospective proof, remember then that perfection is easy. Do what it is in your heart to do. Trust your gut through self-reflection, the reflection of yourself in the eyes and the words of others. Having understood your body, having mastered your face, having taken your body as the basic unit of the universe, understand all things now as more of the same. The universe as a whole woman, Maitreya. The smallest quark is a little man with his own shape and consciousness. Panpsychism allows that all things have consciousness, not only brains, but sections of the brain, and tissue, cells, atoms. Not only a man, but a family has a brain, as the man and the wife are two sides of the family brain. Every group you are part of has a collective consciousness, a mind of its own, which you share in by participating with the group, while yet being an utter individual at your centermost. For the cosmos is he who, out of the theory of the earth and of his or own body, understands by subtle analogies all theories. When we see art, we become what we see. Everything that has shape has an expressive quality. Art exaggerates the expressiveness. If the artist were a true God, he engendered a living soul that presides in the art, with a real and literal consciousness that thinks you as you think it. Idol worship, the idol focusing on an image for a deep interpretation, opens the door. Every idol was a door, and so was every god a door. There are so many entrances to the exalted All-Matriyama, the utter divine. What is the real scene? The political? We may choose a substance as our element, some substance to call the real. Political readings of literature, feminist, Marxist, Freudian, take politics or economics as what it is all really about. Thales thought it was all about water. Heraclitus thought it was all fire. And they were all absolutely right. There are two in life that are one, action and knowledge. Action makes narrative, knowledge makes science. They are exaggerations of the unity of all things, the diversity of persons. As each man is his own species, so does each man and woman live in layers of consciousness, which we climb or ascend, all the way up to the infinite all. These layers of consciousness are always a part of us, but the center of focus slips now to this one, now to the other. What is the metaphysical substance? That depends on your goal. We are each at our centermost necessity. We also have a mind that freely expresses this. Study any great hermeneutics, anything that can command your focus for a long time. That discipline draws you in. The career that keeps you for 20 years becomes your language of address to the world. We are always talking shop. The eye is a filter. There is far too much to see, and the mind takes in the smallest fraction. Internally reflexive, we take the world as the image of the self. All of nature is the shape of the soul, as Emerson felt, as Thoreau and Whitman felt. They made nature into a form of meditation. They meditated on the world and drew from their own substance new truths. Everything is everything. Each is all. Understand that your body contains everything. The Greek tragedy imitated religion. So all the arts imitate religion, science, politics. What are the details they integrate? When does a new form have soul, integrity, being, eternal being? An image can be a poem. What is eternal is also temporal. Myths give nothing but images, images drawn out into stories, but ultimately a commanding image. Images hold us, so long that they are seen by the spiritual eye. We want in our call to simplicity only simple images, commanding images, so take the body as your source of imagery. You will see how often politics is put into sexual terms, and vice versa, how love and power stands for each other. The great domains of the world, religion, politics, and the economy, stir and agitate the world body, the Leviathan, the great oversoul of man. The heart moves are small and vague, but in the world's script they are wide and devastating. So we take metaphysics as the externalizing trope. Metaphysics is poetry. Who cares whether it is factual? What symbol is factual? They are the light by which facts are revealed. We find in our life one body and its propensity, its gifts. Around us swing a constellation of tools to bring a purpose in the world. In the beginning of all time, Matria created in the garden of her innermost all the myriads of forms. She sculpted, she painted, she sang, and through all this the cosmos unfolded. When we create, she creates with us. We open up a novel part of our being and create, and she co-creates with us. Thus art is inspired, but more than inspired, it comes sui generis, from the self-creating logos to the innermost soul. Ambiguity and interpretation, always the conflicts of the world. So much is uncertain until the commanding voice says, "This is so," and so it is. In the beginning God said, "Let there be light," and God was light. That light is lux, the very let there be. Language itself, for language is the substance of the world, writing the substance of the world. We write our place, we write our biography. We create heaven in everything we create, and will someday live therein. Independence of heart means having a distinct place to put one's independence, a place to create, for the desk of creativity is the most sacred of sacreds. It is your altar. Honor it as the lap of Amma, la Pamale. The body and the world takes on the vibrations of the world. Culture is refinement, the processing of the raw of life. We become shaped by the world and present the world with a new shape. Art presents symbols, simplifications of life experiences. We find ourselves drawn by a few artists out of the world and obsess them and say, "Be thou my God," and honor them and respect them, bowing so low, and then not so low, and eon by eon, looking that God in the eye, and if we continue to grow, looking down and past that God. What matters is gaining independence. Submission is the first move to dominance. Never forsake time alone with your body, your exercise, your discipline, your assumed diet. Introspection finds cultural contingencies, the ideas of the world rooted so deep in your soul. Weed out what you would not see grow. Tend the garden of your heart, and invite only a few friends into the secret garden of your soul. Guard it with a manly fist. Tend it with feminine fingertips. Be masculine with force, and feminine with indirectness. Nagging bursts the will, as the Chinese torture is Taoistic. Be receptive to the world, but insist on yourself. Hold to your own. It takes an empire to make an idea, and once that idea is set, the empire can fade. I write from a grand empire these states, even as I hold on to the tribal intonations of my neighborhood. Remember the body in all you do. You bear the national character. We get anxieties, which are always physical, a hidden tightness in the body that causes us to act out and to relieve it. If I have a day of stark physical pain, severe headache, tiredness, upset gut, pinched facial muscles, I know my soul, my unconscious, my body is working out a problem. The physical pain and the psychological self-doubting, combined with the alienating irritability, make the day hard to cope with. How to comprehend it, how to take it in and let it out, like a heart pump. Language abbreviates. The tensions of life abbreviate our pain, compact them. If I am to be the glory of America, I must breathe in America. If I am to be the glory of the earth, I must take in the earth. What a discipline it is to do this. One's tradition must be swallowed up in large draughts and digested through the sweat of experience. I take this job or that, but I'm asked to compromise myself. I refuse. A little integrity is better than any career. The job world is a world too, just as the family world is a world of its own. We live in the plural verse, as William James said, each world with its own mind, its own body, its own laws and rules, different from the rest, but analogically the same eternal law of being. When studying a book, imagine the gestures of the author. Look for the flow of the main idea, the nodes implanted like knots, the attenuation, the digressions, the main idea. Study one essay over and over. Read it so many times you have memorized it. This is the only way to meet an author in the ground of his creativity. This is wrestling. This is sex. This is how we come to know where our powers are, and who is a god and who is a mere mortal. There's no faking results. As Charles Ives said, music is life. I say, writing is life. And each of us creates such a world where this is true. However, the results vary in degree to how much of our substance we put into the world. As we are reborn into our art after we die from the earth, let us put our whole being into our creative expression, into our love for our audience, for the world, for God, for Amma. And so we find true substance in our national literature, not mere mannerisms. We drink from our roots, studying our country, and studying the classics of the world for contrast. World literature we need, as the earth, as the mind of the one body of man, so we can become the poet of the nation, the philosopher of the nation, as Whitman prepares his body and soul with his leaves of grass to become the nurse who would not amputate the South during the Civil War, who would knit the states back together as nurse during the Civil War. His love and kindness to the soldiers during that war were a greater poem than his leaves of grass, and did more for the nation, and it broke his healthy body, which he had boasted of so often before. Having saved the beaten South, his own body broke in two. He had a seizure that left his body halfway paralyzed, taking on the crack in the nation into his own brain. Know your nation. Know the streets. Know your neighborhood. Know your neighbors. Transcendentalism said that nature is meditation, and that by making metaphors from nature we understand the world, culture, and the self. Whitman and Thoreau explored this trope endlessly. The world is the reach of the body is a world, and as far as the body reaches, so is our world. We make art of the world, for art puts man at home in his world. Art is a perfecting of nature. Anything can be everything. Use a line as a lens. There is a game I would play with my friends, with my wife, in which two random objects were presented as a riddle, and the guests had to say how they were alike. You win by being clever. How is a baby like a refrigerator? Well, they both contain milk is one possible answer. How is a raven like a writing desk? They both have inky feathers, and so forth. Writing is life's substance, for me, and for you it will be whatever your gifts allow. The history of the universe is a game, said Emerson, and we are players in that game, when we can use our tools, whatever they are, whatever our profession, whatever our calling, and make them into worship. Work is worship, so that we are loving Amma in all we do. We always talk shop. The doctor sees the world as symptoms. The literary critic looks for tensions in language. What is a man but a Congress of Nations? Asked Emerson. So might we say, what is a Congress of Nations but a man? I myself don't live life so much as write it. I have knit the two so thoroughly that I cannot do one without the other. Writing is life. This other man takes a different view, yet I can see him and admire him and love him and praise him, for we are all yet of the same substance. This gem no thief can take, the poetic strain of eloquence, but that other one who runs marathons makes me smile. I return to cross-country running myself, to biking, to lose this gut. I pick up this Le Mans signature bike my brother gave to me for Christmas one year. But I will never be epic. An epic man writes epic poems, and each has his own gift, his calling, his talents bestowed by the Creator, which he may work to increase or bury under the ground. Zealots don't possess ideas, but are possessed by ideas. Therefore, they bring no increase. It were as well the ideas found a true and fertile source in a living soul. After all, we come to life to learn ourselves. We come to life to love. We come to life as a will to power, to increase power in all things. But these are so many ways of saying the same. The man who is, properly, sees all the world, the nations, the ant nest, as being basically one thing, for he sees them all as the same as himself. Even the most abstract mathematics is true to the body, true to the knit and tender of living flesh. Study anything you wish, but study something, and with devoted intensity, for a long time, and mastering it, you have learned more than one thing. You have learned everything. So the man or woman who is Kosmos sees out of the theory of the earth or of his or her body, understands by subtle analogies all theories, the theory of the city, a poem, and the large politics of these states. It is all one and the same, but merely saying so is cheap, and as good as useless. Knowing so through direct experience is the only way. And so learn at least your living flesh. Master your face, your arms, your legs, your groin. Master your intestines, your stomach. You have gained control of more than the meat of your bones. You have touched God-flesh, have known the substance of the all.